respected Hawaii economist Paul Brewbaker returned to EEAH to share his insightful economic analysis. In this fourth video, Paul explains Maui's plan to shut down vacation rentals. He shows how resilient Maui visitor arrivals were after COVID and the Lahaina Wildfire. He estimates the cost of the COVID and wildfires is in the billions of dollars in lost revenues. Paul concludes with a comment on Hawaii's general fund revenues that have declined for 4 years, yet the state is implementing a tax cut.
Engineers and Architects of Hawaii has been meeting for over 120 years. The 1-hour lunchtime meetings on Fridays serves engineers, architects, technical professionals, and the public. We provide a venue for timely briefings and discussions of current and emerging technologies and important community issues. Please join us at one of our live meetings, either in person or via Zoom. Past meetings are published on YouTube and on Hawaii's Olelo Community Television Channel 53. Visit the EAH website for publications, information, and links. Mahalo.
Welcome to the Engineers and Architects of Hawaii, meeting since 1902. Here at the room 301 of Topa Tower on 4th Street Mall.
Thanks for inviting me back. It's been a while. The theme here is mostly about uncertainty and its role in the economic outlook. Let's jump right in. Final, just analytical curiosity. I'm going to detrend, you saw the tourism data in the paper this morning. I'm going to detrend Maui visitor counts because these guys want to burn vacation rentals. Vacation rentals are 25 to 30% of all the lodging inventory. So it's kind of like, I hate the plantations, let's shut down a couple mills. That would be the equivalent 50 years ago. Shut down Lahaina Mill. Shut down Pioneer Mill. That'll do it. Stick it to those big five. So that's what Maui wants to do to tourism. Ready? Okay. Theory, right? Here's theory. So we were looking, at detrended prices. So if you're on the trend, right, it's no deviation from trend, 0. And then let's say you have a big shock, like a pandemic, and you drop from trend. Resilience is about going back to trend, right? That's the definition of resilience. I'm going to go back to the path I was on before the pandemic, as if it never happened. I got my vaccine, I'm good to go. And so there's theory. And there, you can get a copy of the slides. There's a paper by Marcus Brunerminer at Princeton last year. In fact, it was published in December. I saw his YouTube from January, but he published the paper a year later. So theory, right? So if you go down, right, the scale here is lower, even lower, way lower. What the, okay, right? You do not want to stay down there. Here are Maui weekly passenger arrivals through a week ago yesterday. Now, I have daily data, but I have to aggregate up to weeks in order to seasonally adjust the data. So we could go look at yesterday's Maui Trans-Pacific passenger arrivals and do the same thing. But I'm going to do weekly data so I can seasonally adjust. Has Maui recovered from the epsilon shock? Theory, reality. Theory, reality. This is a tipping point. This is what happens when you start posting on social media, GTFO, right? And if you've been following TikTok, like the anti-tourism, anti-offshore denialism on Maui is intense right now on Instagram and social media. And it's working. And the latest people to bail are the Canadians. I haven't looked it up in the data, but you can go download the data from yesterday and see how much Canadian travel dropped. The Japanese are probably at 1/4 their historic volumes now. That's partly an exchange rate thing, but it's also because ever since the pandemic, they don't trust public health in America. I think it's this change in the information environment. So, right, this is the recovery, and there's the Delta variant and the Omicron subvariant. So, right, people are paying attention. Ooh, they have a Delta, let's not go. And so the recovery was largely complete. We call this the revenge travel recovery in 2021, 2022. We adapted, we put PCR pre-flight tests in place. Why? Because we're worried about people's health? Hell no, we don't care about their health. to signal to the potential traveler that it's safe to come to Maui. You're not going to get COVID on the plane. And right, it's about signaling. Partly. I mean, yeah, maybe we care about their health. I don't know. Mayor Blangiardi said that. Right here, Mayor Blangiardi says, masking in a public place and a workplace is a matter of personal choice.
Green said that?
Blangiardi.
Oh, sorry.
December. Oh, Green, right here on July 9th, 2021, Ige and Green, the governor and the LG, are duking it out over the indoor mask mandate. And the LG saying, we don't need masks anymore. Right here at the onset of the Delta variant. And I so remember this because you remember about a month later, the governor had to actually make an announcement. Maybe this is not the good time to come to Hawaii because we got a mean ass COVID outbreak. So we had this recovery, and then we had a couple huge COVID variants in the summer of 2021 and then the fall. Remember the Omicron variant in the winter of 2020? See, nobody remembers it, but they're in the data. I can see them in the data. And so Maui's trying to mount this recovery, except, they keep getting whacked by COVID and COVID variants. And then by 2022, it's all good, except now the haters are all on social media. And they're just hating on tourism big time. And I can document I can document the use of generative AI to discourage people from going to Maui. That's a whole fascinating story in and of itself. And not Phil Rucker, but one of the other great New York Times authors was writing articles about this at the time of the wildfire. Anyway, my point here is that people are listening. Here are the actual data. So you can see how far. Now, maybe we weren't going to go back to trend. I don't know. I'm just saying these are the data. There's the trend. You tell me. You didn't want to go on trend. You don't want to grow your business anymore. Knock yourself out. I can do the same thing for expenditures. And because they're expenditures, I can integrate these areas and come up with estimates of how much we've lost. In the case of the post-wildfire, we've foregone about 6.5, 7 billion, right? Since the pandemic, the area here is about 6 or 7 billion that we could have had we returned to trend. And the trend is 1 to 1.5% annual growth in constant dollar tourism receipts. So it's not like, it's not like it's blowing up the economy. But you can see we're not making it. And the problem is that that's now showed up in per capita GDP. So again, this moment in 2017, the last time per capita GDP in Hawaii was the same as nationwide, we took a right turn at Albuquerque and never went back. That's a problem to me. I don't know. Some people don't seem to be concerned about it. Governor Green wants to run for president on being the worst performing state in the country. Woohoo! We're so good, we're in last place. Like, we suck more than Louisiana.
Take some skill.
No offense to Louisiana. This takes extraordinary skills to have the state's official projection by 2028 to be lower than the actual US number from last year. Rock on, Hawaii! That's why I say I'm checking out. You youngsters, you got to fix this place, bro. When I graduated from Kailua High School, book 'em, Daniel, per capita personal income in Hawaii was 30% higher than the national average. Boom! And today it's 5% lower. If the cost of living is 25% higher than the mainland, and your income is 30% higher, you rule. Because you can afford to live here, and it's Hawaii. But if the cost of living is 25% higher and your income is 5% lower, time to move to Vegas. And just a final thing for the Gov, I only stuck this in here because the Gov wants to run for president. Constant dollar general fund revenues, bruh. You wrote a tax cut because you thought you had money, but you don't have the money, bruh. I mean, I'll take the tax cut, bro. I'm good with the tax cut. I'm just asking if we can afford it because the trend hasn't been upward for 3 years. And it was before the pandemic. So good luck with that. I think that's my last slide.
The tax cut hasn't taken effect yet, right?
It comes in next January?
Yeah, but you showed a slide that we're already in bad shape.
Yeah, we're already in bad shape. And they pre-committed to deploying a tax cut.
So
I think the reason they thought they had money was because they had a bunch of federal pandemic money that they didn't spend. Now that doesn't show up in the general fund. I don't know. This is right. You remember the stimulus checks and all the low interest rates, or 3% mortgage rates, everybody's refinancing and paying off their credit cards and going on vacations. So yeah, and that to me, this is a problem. Because yeah, the escalator of life, right? We just want to get on the escalator, have our 401k be there at we get to the upper floor and be done with it. Thanks for your time, you guys.
Thanks, Paul.
The fifth final video covers the Q&A at the conclusion of Paul's presentation. He responded to questions on anti-tourism's impact on Maui housing cost and questions on agreements or non-agreements on tariffs that the U.S. has claimed to have negotiated with other countries.
Yeah, we'll get your picture.
Thank you very much. Oh, yes.
For those of us with jobs, have fun.
all right.
Yeah.
Engineers and architects of Hawaii welcome your comment on this program and any of our recent programs. We encourage your direct participation in this community outreach. So please email us your comments and ideas at eahawaii@gmail.com.